everyone, I'm here to do my January wrap-up, and I'm not going to do a to be read this month again just because I don't know. I just don't feel like following a list right now. But to begin, I am going to start with FanGirl, and I'll insert a picture of it right here, and that's by Rowell. And I gave this book 5 stars. It was so good. I absolutely loved it. It was so relatable. And it was just amazing. If you really, really like kind of like fan fiction-y kind of stuff, even though I wasn't a fan, I still enjoyed it, even though I'm not really a fan of fan fiction in particular. But it was still a really good book, and the characters were really relatable, and it was hilarious. So I definitely recommend it. The next book that I read was It's Kind of a Funny Story by Vizzini, and sadly that author killed himself in December, so sad to hear about that, but I'm really glad I read his book. I gave it 5 stars. It was a really good book, very, very relatable, and it's just very unfortunate that he had to pass away. But I really recommend that you read his book, because not just because he passed away, but just because it really was a really good read, and I definitely recommend it. The next book that I read was 13 Reasons Why by J. Asher, and I gave this book 5 stars also because, I don't know, I know this book was a hit or miss with a lot of people, but I really thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought the method that she had of writing it, like the plot with the tapes and stuff, it was just so creative, and I've never seen it before, so I really enjoyed it. And the next book is The Knife of Never Letting Go by Patrick Ness, and I gave this 5 stars out of 5 stars. It was beautiful. I can't even. If you really like kind of dystopian kind of sci-fi reads, you need to read this book. It was just plain amazing. The characters were wonderful, and it doesn't have a happy ending like all the other books that I've read, so it was a good change. So I'm going to probably read the next book in the series this month, so I might do a review on the series as a whole. I don't think I'll do separate books though. The next book that I read was The Vampire Academy by Micheal Mead. I gave this book 5 stars. It was really good. I can't wait for the movie. It was super hilarious. I really enjoyed it. This was actually the first book I read this month, and that was Allegiant by Veronica, Roth, and I gave this 4 stars. I was kind of on the same page as everyone else, where like the ending, it was a good ending. I have to admit, it was a really good ending. I didn't expect it, but it's not how I wanted it to end. Just their relationship, like in the last book, was just totally screwed up, and it just didn't fit either of their personalities, and it just really bothered me. It almost felt too like she was rushing the character development in it just because of the fact that it was the last book. But it was a good storyline and a really good story, so I still gave it 4 stars. And sadly, I read BZRK by Michael Grant, and I didn't like it that much at all, which is sad because I really wanted to, because it sounds awesome, but it was just very, very poorly put together, and there was no character development. I didn't care about what happened to any of the characters. They could have all died in the book, and I would have not cared. Honestly, it didn't do anything for me at all. I gave it 3 stars just because of the premise of the story, and I enjoyed the premise, and I enjoyed kind of like the storyline that it followed, but the book itself was just not that great. I was going to give it 2.5, but just because I did like the storyline a lot, I decided to give it 3. You can read it if you want to, but I'm not exactly going to recommend it. The next book that I read was Throne of Glass by Maas, and I gave this book 4 stars. It is a high fantasy book, and it's a young adult high fantasy book, which I don't read a lot of. If I read high fantasy, usually it's in an adult form. But it was a really good book. I really like the main character. It's nice having a female main character that's kind of badass and just really fun to read about. I just really liked her personality. She doesn't put up with anything. It it was refreshing compared to a lot of the other books I've read where the girl always has to be saved. I really recommend it if you like high fantasy, or even if you just like kind of action-y books, because it had a lot of action in it. The next book that I read was The Battle of the Labyrinth by Riordan, and I gave this one 4 stars. I really wanted to love it, and I didn't. It's the only book in the series so far that I didn't really enjoy that much. I felt the writing was really rushed, and all of the fight scenes didn't have the detail that the previous books had, and there was so much that it could have been done to make it a better book that just wasn't. So I'm hoping the last book is going to be better, because I only have the last one left, so I'm hoping that the series doesn't end in a sad note like this book did, literary writing wise. The next book I read was Will Grayson by John Green and David Levithan, and I gave this 4 stars. It was really funny, and just if you did theater in high school or at all ever in your life, you're going to find this book completely hilarious. So I definitely recommend it, and it touches base on a lot of really good issues, such as just kind of, I don't know, gender stereotyping and sexual preferences and things like that. It's just a really good book, and I definitely recommend it. The last thing that I read this month was the first book in the Mahoromatic series by... not even gonna try it. Nope. By that author right there. And I gave this 3 stars. I was not a fan. I liked the anime. It was funny, but this was just awful. I didn't like it at all. I don't even think it really deserved 3 stars. I think I just felt bad. It's more of like a 1.5 to 2 star book. I wasn't a fan. But that is all I read for this month, and I'm not exactly sure what I want to read next month. Obviously, I'm going to finish the Percy Jackson series, and I'm going to work on reading the Chaos Walking trilogy. The next book that I have over there, actually, that I'm going to be reading hopefully tonight, is The Ask and the Answer. So I will talk to you guys later, and I'll probably be back with a review soon of one of the books that I read this month. I'm deciding which one I want to do. So if you have any recommendations of which one you would like to hear about more, leave them in the comments, and don't forget to rate and subscribe. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.